Emotional Vampires, Dealing with People Who Drain You Dry by Albert J. Bernstein, PhD, is a book that examines the concept of emotional vampires and how to deal with them in our lives. According to the author, emotional vampires are people who are not necessarily evil or intentionally malicious, but rather individuals who have a tendency to drain our emotional energy and leave us feeling exhausted, frustrated, and even depressed. These emotional vampires can take many forms, including narcissists, bullies, drama queens, and chronic complainers. Through this book, Dr. Bernstein provides readers with practical strategies for identifying and dealing with emotional vampires in a healthy and constructive way. He emphasizes the importance of setting clear boundaries, learning how to say no, and recognizing when it necessary to remove oneself from a toxic relationship. Dr. Bernstein draws on his extensive experience as a clinical psychologist to provide readers with useful insights into a psychological dynamics at playing in our relationships with emotional vampires. He also offered tips for managing our own emotions and developing healthier communication skills which can help us navigate difficult interpersonal situations more effectively.
Emotional Vampires describes 5 types of toxic personalities in a professional accurate fashion, but in simple words, it teaches readers how to defend themselves against antisocial, histrionic, narcissist, obsessive compulsive, and paranoid personalities. Not all vampires are mean, they're just hollow. When you're at your weakest, vampires don't see someone in need of help, they see an opportunity. Vampires are childish. They see their needs, but they don't see yours. Each of them is driven by an immature and impossible need that, to them, is the most important thing in the world. But to most people, it only serves to make their lives in a living hell. The difference between emotional vampires and other disorders is on the impact on people's lives. Antisocial vampires. Antisocials hate boredom. They love parties, sex, drugs, and in their pursuit of excitement often end up breaking both laws and social conventions. Histrionic vampires. They live for attention and approval. Drama is their keyword. In all sense, what you see is not what you get, and they make a big fuss out of everything. Looking good is their specialty, and all else is an important detail. Think they never do anything unacceptable, either mistakes or immortal thoughts. Their behavior is more directed at fooling themselves than fooling you. Narcissistic vampires, they live out their fantasies of being the most talented, most skilled, smartest, and all-around best people in the world. And according to the author, Bernstein, it's not so much that they think of themselves as better than other people as they don't think of other people at all. Obsessive compulsive vampires, they're somewhat opposite to antisocials. They are addicted to safety. The way to achieve safety is by fully control over everything, attention to details. Take long to make the decision, will rarely if ever show appreciation. For people who only want everything to be right, perfectionist vampires can cause an incredible number of things to go wrong. Paranoid vampires, they see patterns and things that others can, but since they see a bit too much, sometimes what they see isn't true and they come up with a new theory or a foiled dangerous plan. Their goal is to reduce ambiguity from life, live by concrete rules, and expect others to live by them as well. Dealing with emotional vampires are lack of integrity. They are hollow inside. When they give you something or offer to help, they usually have an agenda. Emotional vampires see your weakness as an opportunity. Emotional vampires aren't evil, they're just immature. But their immaturity leads them to operate without distinguish much between what's good and bad, and what will be good and bad for other people around.
Chapter 1: The Players. Identifying different types of emotional vampires, such as the narcissist, the victim, and the histrionic. Ang ibig sabihin nito ay ang pagkakakilanlan sa mga taong nakakadama na nakakadurog ng emosyon sa kanilang mga kasama sa pamamagitan ng mga pagiging sobrang demanding, self-centered, manipulative, at masyadong dramatic sa kanilang mga gawin. Ang mga nabanggit na uri ng mga emotional vampires ay ang mga taong may katangian ito sa naaaring nagdulot na stress at kahirapan sa mga taong nakapaligid sa kanila. Chapter 2. Who's the Vampire? Understanding your own vulnerabilities and patterns that attract emotional vampires. Ito naman ay ang mga pagkakaroon ng kaalaman at pag-unawa sa mga sariling kahinaan at mga ugali na maaaring mag-attract sa mga taong tinatawag na emotional vampires o mga taong nakakapagod at nakakadrain ng ating emosyon at enerhiya. Sa pamamagitan ng pag-unawag sa mga ito, maaari natin matukoy kung paano tayo dapat magpakatatag at magpakalayo sa mga taong ito upang maiwasan ang mga negatibong epekto sa ating buhay at pakiramdam. Sa Chapter 3, The Narcissist. Characteristics of the narcissist such as grandiosity and lack of empathy and how to deal with them. This is how it works. Ang isa namang narcissist ay isang tao na may sobrang pagmamahal sa sarili at nagpapakita ng grandisyadong pag-uugali. Hindi nila kayang makiramdam sa mga nararamdaman ng iba at hindi nila naiintindihan ang iba pang mga emosyon maliban sa kanilang sarili. Kung ikaw ay nakakaranas na pakikipag-ugnayan sa isang narcissist, mahalagang maunawaan mo na ang kanilang pag-uugali ay hindi dahil sa iyo. Ito ay isang malalim na suliranin sa kanilang pagkatao at hindi mo kailangan tanggapin ang kanilang mga hindi makatao na gawin. Ang mga pinakamahalagang bagay na dapat mong gawin ay mag-ingat sa limitasyon mo at protektahan ang iyong sarili mula sa posibleng pinsala ng ng mga narcissist. Hindi mo kailangan magpa-apekto sa kanilang mga pagsisinungaling at paninira sa iyong reputasyon. Maaari kang maghanap ng taong mula sa isang profesional na tagapayo o terapista upang matutunan mo kung paano lutasin ang mga hamon sa pakikipag-ugnayan sa isang narcissist at may pagtanggol mo ang iyong sarili. Chapter 4, The Victim. Characteristics of the victim such as self-pity and blaming others and how to deal with them. Ito ay tumutukoy sa mga katangian ng mga isang biktima, ngunit hindi nangangahulugan na sila ay may kasalanan sa pangyayari. Ang pagmamakaawa sa sarili ay ang pagiging labis na malungkot o kawawa sa sarili. Samantalang, ang pagbibintang sa iba ay ang pagturo sa ibang tao bilang dahilan ng kanilang mga problema. Ang pagtugon sa ganitong katangian ng isang biktima ay maaaring mag-iba depende sa sitwasyon, ngunit dapat itong gawin sa isang paunawaing paraan. Chapter 5, The Controller. Characteristics of the controller such as micromanaging and controlling behavior and how to deal with them. Ang mga katangian ng isang controller ay kabilang ang pagiging mahilig na mag-micromanaging at kontrolado sa pag-uugali. Karaniwan nilang gustong mamuno sa lahat ng aspeto ng isang sitwasyon at kontrolin ang mga detalye. Ngunit, maaaring magdulot ito ng hindi magandang epekto sa mga taong sa paligid niya. Dahil sa pagiging kontrolado at pagbabawal sa ibang tao na magpakita ng kanilang kakayahan, kung nais mong pakitunguhan ng isang controller, mahalagang maipakita mo sa kanila ang respeto at pagpapahalaga sa kanilang mga kakayahan. Ngunit may pagbibigay ng pagkakataon sa iba na magpakita rin ng kanilang kakayahan sa loob ng organisasyon. Chapter 6, The Critic. Characteristics of the critic such as negativity and judgmental behavior and how to deal with them. Ang mga kritiko ay may mga tao na nagbibigay ng kanilang opinion o review tungkol sa isang bagay, halimbawa sa pelikula, libro o pagkain. Ngunit minsan, may mga kritiko na mayroong negatibong pananaw at panghusga sa kanilang mga pahayag. Para makipag-ugnayan sa kritiko na may ganitong katangian, mahalagang magpakita ng pag-unawa at pagtanggap. Dapat rin nating tanggapin na mayroon iba't ibang opinyon at perspektibo ang bawat tao. Hindi rin dapat natin personalin o bigyan ng labis na halaga ang mga negatibong komento ng kritiko. Sa halip, maaari natin gamitin ang kanilang mga komento bilang oportunidad upang mapabuti pa ang mga ating ginawa. Dapat nating maging bukas sa pagbabago at pagbubuti. Mahalaga rin na magpakita ng respeto ng mga kritiko sa mga kritiko at patuloy na magpakita ng maayos na pakikitungo sa kanila.
Next would be the splitter. The characteristics of a splitter has a black and white thinking and the need to divide people into good and bad, and how to deal with them. Next is the histrionic. The histrionic has the characteristics of attention-seeking behavior and drama, and how to deal with them. Next is the paranoid. The paranoid has the characteristics of suspicion, mistrust, and how to deal with them. Then the avoidant, that has the characteristics of fear of rejection and social isolation. On the chapter 11, it mainly signifies or it mainly describes the phrase that you can change them but you can change yourself. It is on how you identify and change your own behavior patterns that contributes to your interactions. And it became a metaphoric statement that the vampires that was represented on the ebook was us, people who contributes to the society. And on the 12th chapter, it is about the ultimate defense. It is how we use our emotional intelligence to protect ourselves from the emotional vampires and maintain healthy relationship. It mainly involves, or it is because of the health of the different areas of the brain and the rest of the nervous system. The content also focuses on the different perceptions through society, from our own control and feeling of connections to challenges and differentiations. There is also a part in which we recognize on how techniques such as hypnosis were conducted and its effects on oneself. The elements were also mentioned all throughout the topic, such as there is a certain scenario in which they thought the reader how the so-called vampires establish their own goal and limitations. Part 1 will be the antisocial types. In this section, it mainly highlights the tendencies of social or antisocial personality disorder occur to a human, if it was developed, and what really describes it. Part 2 will be the histrionic types. Similar to the antisocials, just add the requirement for love, attention, and approval. Here is the tendencies toward histrionic personality disorder. This also invented the Freudian slip. Part 3 is the narcissistic type. So-called vampires that would have a tendency of having a narcissistic personality disorder. It's about how they think that they are better among all and so much love to themselves. Part 4 is the obsessive compulsive type. In this part, it is about a neurotic condition that is characterized by ritual repetitions. An obsessive compulsive disorder is very typical among the present. And the last part will be the paranoid types. In this part, it explains the paranoid personality disorder in a general form, since this is widely misinterpreted by some people and it's very complex.
Emotional Vampires Dealing with People Who Drain You Dry by Albert Jane Bernstein is a well-written and practical guide for readers to identify and manage relationships with emotional vampires. The book offers clear explanations of the different types of emotional vampires and provides specific strategies for setting boundaries and protecting one's emotional well-being. One potential weakness of the book is that it may oversimplify complex relationships, but overall, it is a useful resource for anyone dealing with difficult relationships.